Pontius Pilate was the only character in the Bible worthy of honor. And of course, a lot of people know that Pontius Pilate was the person who Jesus was brought before. He was in charge at the time, and he was given the decision about whether to condemn Jesus to death or not. And I'll show you a picture of Pilate here. Pontius Pilate. That's the typical depiction of him being this, like authoritarian ruler, of course. And it's interesting. I didn't remember this until I just looked it up, because I read the Bible before, but I didn't remember this, that that Pilate initially, at least according to the Bible, apparently historical sources say that he was actually more authoritarian and ruthless than the way he is depicted in the Bible, which I think is interesting, because you would think it would be the opposite, and that the Bible would present Pilate as less favorably than history, right? Because you would think that they want to paint him as the villain and paint Jesus as the good guy. So I think that's interesting that in the Bible, Pilate exonerates Jesus at first, but then because the crowd overwhelmingly disapproves with this decision, he ends up condemning him to death after that, death by crucifixion, of course, which I think is really interesting, because it gets to another one of Nietzsche's claims, which is that Pontius Pilate was the only character in the Bible worthy of honor. And I think that's a really interesting claim. And that's another one that I don't agree with, but again, I think it's really interesting, because it's kind of the claim that, no one else is as good of a person as Pilate. And I don't think he fully elaborates on that, but in terms of what I know about Nietzsche, I know that Pilate asked what is true. So he's going into this philosophical investigation, and he actually, he exonerates Jesus, and then due to the will of the crowd, he changes his mind. So he's following the will of the people, right? And Nietzsche actually writes really, really critically about truth in a lot of his writing too.